People think death is an event, a single moment when everything stops. But I learned that you can die while still breathing. For me, that day came on a Thursday. It was raining, of course. It always rains when your life falls apart. I had just been promoted at the marketing firm. 5 years of endless overtime finally paying off. I remember texting Ethan, my boyfriend, "I got it. Let's celebrate tonight." He replied with a heart emoji. I smiled, not knowing he was probably texting her at the same time. When I got home early to surprise him, the apartment door was unlocked. My heart fluttered. I thought maybe he had planned something for me. But when I walked into our bedroom, I saw a wine bottle, 2 glasses, and clothes scattered across the floor. Not mine. She was laughing when I opened the door. He wasn't. I remember the look on his face, the look people make when they're caught in a nightmare that's entirely their fault. He said, "It's not what it looks like every cliche in every bad movie." And I said the only honest thing that came to my mind. "Then what the hell is it, Ethan?" She ran out half-dressed. He followed. And I just stood there, in the middle of the life I'd built around him, realizing it was already in ruins. That night, I didn't cry. I packed. But the next day, when I got to work, I discovered the betrayal went deeper. My boss, the man who had promised me the promotion, said there had been a last-minute change. Ethan got it instead. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was humiliation. He hadn't just cheated on me, he'd used me, my work, my loyalty, my silence, to climb. And then he discarded me. I left town that week, took every dollar I had, dyed my hair, and disappeared. The old me, the one who loved him, trusted him, needed him, was gone. I became someone else. My name now is Lena. I live in New York. And yesterday, I walked into an interview for a new marketing director. Ethan was sitting on the other side of the desk.
He didn't recognize me. 3 years can change a woman more than time admits. I had cut my hair, gone darker, refined my voice to sound calmer, more mature. My makeup was subtle, sculpted. My posture screamed confidence. The girl he destroyed was gone, replaced by someone who knew exactly what she wanted. Still, sitting there across from him, hearing him say, "I'm Ethan Ross, head of creative strategy," nearly made my skin crawl. He smiled that same practiced smile, the one he used to charm investors, friends, and naive women like me. "Lena, is it?" he asked, glancing down at my resume. "Interesting background, strong digital performance portfolio." "Thank you," I said, keeping my tone professional. My pulse thundered under the surface. He continued, "I see you used to work at—" His voice trailed off as he read the name of the company where we both once worked, where he had taken everything from me. "Ah, you were there too." "Briefly," I said, smiling faintly. "Didn't stay long. Some people at the top made it unbearable." He chuckled softly, unaware of the barb. "I know what you mean." I wanted to laugh. The irony was too delicious. 2 days later, HR called. I got the job. My plan wasn't perfect. It didn't need to be. I just had to get close enough to remind him of what he'd lost, of who I'd become, and to destroy the empire he'd built on lies. The first few weeks were easy. I watched him from the glass wall of his corner office, confident, commanding, adored by the team. But I noticed cracks. He was impatient, erratic, and drinking more than he should. His perfect control was slipping, and I could tell success hadn't brought him peace. Sometimes I'd catch him staring at me. Not recognition exactly, but curiosity. Something about my eyes, maybe my voice. Once in a late meeting, he said, "You remind me of someone I used to know." I smiled. Someone good or bad? He hesitated. Both. I didn't look away. Then she must have mattered. He laughed softly. She did, once. One night, while the office emptied and rain smeared the city lights, I slipped into his office under the excuse of leaving a file. His desk was immaculate, except for one drawer left slightly open. Inside, I saw a photo. Me. Before. The girl I used to be, smiling at a company event, proud and stupidly in love. So he kept me, not just in memory, in evidence. My chest tightened, but I smiled anyway. He wasn't as forgetful as I thought. A week later, he asked me to dinner. Strictly professional, of course. I accepted. We met at a rooftop restaurant, one I remembered too well. It was the same place he had once taken me to celebrate my promotion, the one he'd later stolen. He ordered the same wine. Some part of him was nostalgic, but he didn't know why. "So, Lena, what's your story? You seem like someone who's lived a lot of lives." I sipped my wine. Maybe I died in one of them. He blinked, surprised. "What do you mean?" I said, "People change. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to bury who you used to be." His jaw tightened slightly, a flicker of discomfort. He didn't know he was sitting across from the ghost he created. That night, when I returned home, I opened my laptop. I had saved everything from before: the stolen emails, the data he used to get his promotion, the messages between him and my boss, proving their betrayal. All I had to do was send one file to the company's board. One click, and his career would be over. But revenge, real revenge, is never just about destruction. It's about timing. It's about watching the person who broke you fall in slow motion. And I wasn't done watching yet. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, Ethan and Marissa, laughing in the kitchen I once called mine. The betrayal played on a loop in my mind, a cruel movie that wouldn't stop. I used to think anger was ugly. Now it felt like the only thing keeping me alive. I packed a small bag, not because I planned to run, but because I planned to return. And when I did, they'd both wish I hadn't. For weeks, I disappeared. I stayed with an old friend in another town, someone who still believed in the version of me that hadn't yet been broken. Every morning I stood in front of the mirror, forcing myself to say it aloud. "You are not weak anymore." At first it sounded fake, like a line from a bad movie, but slowly something shifted. My shoulders straightened, my voice didn't shake. The woman staring back at me wasn't soft anymore. She was sharp, deliberate, dangerous. I started digging, not for closure, but for control. Ethan wasn't just unfaithful. He was hiding things: money, documents, secrets that could ruin him. And Marissa, she wasn't innocent either. She was part of it. The night I found proof, a hidden account under Marissa's name linked to Ethan's firm, I didn't cry. I smiled, because finally, I had something stronger than heartbreak. I had power. I didn't go to the police. I didn't want justice from them. I wanted it from him, from both of them. So I went back. When Ethan opened the door, his face went pale. "Laura," he breathed, like he'd seen a ghost. "Not quite," I said, "but close enough." Marissa came down the stairs wearing one of my old necklaces, the one Ethan said he'd lost years ago. The sight made my stomach twist. but I didn't show it. I smiled. Calm. Cold. I took everything from you, I said. Now I'm taking it back. Ethan reached for my arm. Laura, please. I cut him off. You don't get to say my name anymore. Then I dropped the folder on the table. Their dirty secrets, printed in black and white. Bank statements, emails, photos, enough to destroy them both. The color drained from Marissa's face. Ethan's hands trembled. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. And it was beautiful. I whispered, You wanted me gone? Now you'll spend the rest of your life wishing I'd stayed dead. As I walked away, I felt it. Not peace, but something better. Power. The girl I used to be died the night they betrayed me. But the woman I became? She doesn't forgive. When I walked away from that house, I thought it was over. Revenge felt like justice, like balance restored. I imagined I'd sleep peacefully again, maybe even find a new version of myself, the strong, untouchable woman I'd always wanted to be. But no one tells you what comes after. The silence that follows, the echo of what you've done. For days, I stayed in a motel off Highway 23, curtains drawn, lights off, phone silenced. I didn't want to be found, not by them, not by the world, not even by myself. Yet every night, their faces came back. Ethan's trembling hands, Marissa's pale silence. I destroyed them, but in the process, I destroyed something in me too. One evening, as the sunset spilled gold across the cracked parking lot, I heard a knock. My pulse quickened. I froze. No one was supposed to know where I was. I opened the door just a little, and there he was, Ethan. But he didn't look angry. He looked broken. Laura, please, you have to listen to me. I almost slammed the door in his face, but something in his eyes stopped me. Not guilt, not love, but fear. He stepped inside. His hands were shaking. Marissa's gone, he whispered. I frowned. Gone? She took everything, the money, the accounts, everything you exposed. She vanished. I blinked, processing. You mean she played you too? He nodded slowly. You wanted revenge, Laura. Congratulations. You gave her the perfect chance to ruin both of us. His words hit me like ice. I wanted to laugh, to scream, to cry, but all I did was stare. For so long, I thought I was the victim turned victor. I thought I'd outsmarted them both. But the truth was darker. We were all pawns, and Marissa had been playing the longest game. Ethan left soon after, shoulders slumped, carrying the weight of what we both had done. I watched him go. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel anger. I felt pity, because we both lost everything. That night, I sat by the motel window and wrote in my journal, the same one I'd once filled with love letters to him. I wrote, maybe revenge isn't justice. Maybe it's just another kind of prison. The girl I used to be believed love could save anyone. The woman I became learned that some fires burn too long and some scars never fade. But as the first light of dawn touched my face, I made myself a promise. I would rebuild, not from anger, not from pain, but from truth. Because I wasn't the girl I used to be anymore. And thank God for that. It took months for the dust to settle, inside me and around me. The world had already moved on, as it always does. Ethan vanished from the city after his firm collapsed. Marissa became a ghost, her name whispered like a rumor that no one dared to confirm. And me?
I stayed in that quiet town by the lake where nobody knew my story, my past, or the fire that had once consumed me. At first, I told myself I was just hiding, but slowly I realized I wasn't hiding anymore. I was healing. I started walking every morning, just me, the mist and the sound of the lake brushing against the shore. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for an apology or plotting someone's downfall. I was just breathing. One day, I found an old bookstore tucked between a bakery and a flower shop. The owner, an older woman named Ruth, smiled at me like she'd been expecting me all along. "You look like someone who's lived a few stories." I laughed, a real unbroken laugh. "You have no idea." I started working there part-time, organizing shelves, recommending novels, listening to other people's heartbreaks between the lines of their favorite books. There was something healing about being surrounded by stories, because for so long, mine had felt like a tragedy. But now it felt like just one chapter in something much bigger. Every now and then, I'd think about Ethan, not with anger, not with longing, just understanding. He'd been weak, selfish, human. And Marissa? She was gone, but her ghost reminded me of something powerful. Trust can be broken, but so can fear. I still keep that journal, the one that began as a record of my pain, then became a ledger of revenge. But now it's filled with something new. Ideas, hopes, small moments that feel like peace. Sometimes I reread the first page. I don't recognize the girl I used to be. And I smile because I don't want to. That girl loved too easily, trusted too blindly, stayed too long in places that burned her. But the woman I am now, she knows her worth. She knows her strength. And most importantly, she knows when to walk away. As I close the journal and watch the sunset melt into the lake, I whisper to the wind, "Thank you for breaking me," because that's how I found myself. And for the first time, it doesn't hurt anymore. It just feels like freedom.